Oh my, oh my, oh my. Yes, we have
Oh, this is the new raid right here.
Really good bosses showing up for the Battle of Dazar'alor. Oh,
Okay,
man,
this
so
is nice.
happy. I'm so happy. It's nothing better than when you go and you find bosses and you're like, okay, this is cool. This is cool. I can see this is going to be so much fun. And I think it's important as well, man, because
that's
good. You
good.
encourage people to get into raiding. You can't just keep showing them these abominations that are in the LFR and saying that's it. That's what we've got to show you for the raid scene. Let's show people that this stuff is really cool. And I'm so happy with how this raid is turning out. It's got a very Nighthold sort of early Siege of Orgrimmar feel to it.
So he actually really likes the raid.
It's different. We're in a troll city, but you're still in a city. Architecturally, it's still the same. And you are going to see some similar layouts and twists.
One thing I want to say is I really like it whenever Blizzard creates a raid out of an outdoor area that you can go to. I just think that's really cool. Like the same way that Heimall was like that, and a few other places too. I just think whenever they do that, it's really interesting.
Some bosses you've seen before, but twists and changes done in a way where it's like, okay, here's a mechanic from a while ago. Let's see what we can do with that. Let's see if we can manipulate that into something new and create something very cool. So I've got 4 bosses to show you today. We're going to have a shared boss and some Horde-only stuff and then some Alliance-only stuff. But do remember, although I'm saying Horde-only and Alliance-only, the Alliance and the Horde do get access to every boss ultimately. So don't worry about that too much. It's not like you're missing out on anything by being a different faction. Let's start off with a Flame Fist and the Illuminated. Flame Fist and the Illuminated.
I thought you said the Illuminati.
Where Lady Jaina, that hussy, that scarlet bitch, man, is trying to hold us back. She's freezing up the whole area, trying to prevent us from getting to the top of our beloved temple. And along the way, we're going to be stopped by Mansroy and Mestra. Mansroy and Mestra. So there's a lot of multi-boss fights in Dazar'alor. A lot of multi-boss fights with a lot of chaos. But I love chaos, because chaos is what keeps you engaged. Keeps you looking at the screen. It's not what's... like, bosses where you kind of like stand in a ball and DPS, and then something big happens in a minute or so. That's what's going to get you checking Netflix, checking Spotify, right? It's like, this time it's...
I do that on every boss, though.
Really super fun. So, Mestra is a monk. Windwalker Monk, we've got a Spirit of Zuen, we've got some spinning crane kicks going on, we've got strikes where the tanks have to like get the right one and they can get a huge buff. Things like that are going on. So you got similar things from like the Twin Emperors down in Mogreshan Vaults, I want to say. I think it was there. And we've also mixed in Ragnaros traps, if you ever did Ragnaros Heroic, where you got trapped and thrown hundreds of feet into the air, ultimately to your death. Excuse me.
Magma trap.
And then we've got mixtures of all these things, and then they've got ultimate abilities on top of that. So we've got abilities that are overlapping. So we've got Pyroblast with a shield, similar to like the Twin Valkyr in Trial of the Crusader.
Dangerous.
So we've got to penetrate this shield, then we can interrupt this Pyroblast that will probably kill a player if it's allowed to go off. But simultaneously, we've also got Zuen running around. Zuen needs to be stopped.
No!
But simultaneously, we have to try and keep one boss's health slightly percentage-wise higher than the other boss's HP, otherwise the other boss will gain a massive amount of damage, and we don't want that to happen. So you have to balance out all of these things while keeping up with everything else that's going in the fight.
That's a lot to do for a boss.
Movement-based. It's a very fluid fight. You're going to be shifting and moving around a lot.
Yeah.
And then they're going to throw another thing into the works, which is going to be living bombs, which are encased in a smoke bomb, like a rogue smoke bomb.
Look at all these mechanics.
So line of sight becomes a problem there. So you have to try and get the whole raid inside this living bomb. And then you have to bait, and you can do this, you have to bait the mage inside the living bomb so you can interrupt the pyroblast, because all that stuff is still going on at the same time.
Wow.
And managing all this while there's spinning lasers going on and things like that. So again, a fight that really keeps you engaged. Each individual component of the fight not particularly difficult to deal with, but we're mixing them all together. We're keeping ourselves on our toes. And then ultimately they had a meme with this. I think they had fun with this. Is the ultimate ability of the monk is to pull back to Heart of Fear. I forget the name of the boss. I think it was
this is
something.
There's a lot of mechanics here.
The entire raid to one side of the room, and then you've got to negotiate and navigate through all these rings.
How can they do this in LFR?
To get to the other side, and this Ring of Peace has been such a powerful raid ability recently. I think they were actually having fun with this. Not difficult. You can leap over them. You can disengage over them. You can gateway over them.
He's doing an RBG. That's amazing. Look at them all. Wow, I see these every day.
Lots of ways of getting over them. Just a bit of fun, I think. a little bit of levity in this fight, a little bit of like, you know, each time, because it's not difficult to get around. You're going to get back and break down these ice walls.
This is so
and then
complicated.
Carry on with the fight as normal. But it doesn't even stop there. Once they get down to low HP, they're going to transform. You're going to turn into the wonderful cloud serpent that you'll know from Mists of Pandaria, and also into the mage will turn into a nice phoenix bird. Would be nice if we had that as an ability as a mage, just saying.
That would be big.
Where they add more mechanics to the fight.
That'd be fucking huge.
My only criticism of this fight, honestly, it was so much fun to deal with, is that it was very top-heavy in terms of difficulty, at least on the PTR heroic testing we did. And what I mean by that is that the most difficult parts of the fight were actually in the first sort of like 2 minutes. And then the fight kind of like got easier over time, and certainly the last phase is easier as well.
I prefer that than whenever it's hard at the end.
Basically, up until you dealt with the living bombs. The living bombs had very weird HP values, which we're not sure is intended or if it's not. So they had one had like 2 million, the other one had like 2.2 million, and then the last one had 4 point something million. You know what I mean? So once you got past that point and managed all the little overlaps that are going on there, then the fight was significantly easier afterwards. Is that intended? I don't know. Whether it's supposed to be a little easier at the start and then get more difficult, which is generally the trend things have gone within BFA, hard to say. But let's move on to the Stormwall blockade. We're on boats, boys! We're on boats, and again...
That fucking boss, dude. Imagine one motherfucking boss. That dude's got more mechanics than all of Black Temple. I mean, think about it. I mean, I literally think that that one boss probably has more mechanics than every single boss put together in Molten Core. Like, that's absolutely ridiculous. That's too many mechanics. I understand this might be good for Mythic players, but who was that guy that was saying that I was, like, I only cared about, like the low-end players? What is this? Who was the guy? I forgot his name, but the guy from Thrall, because he put his character name in his donation. See? I'm advocating for casuals right now. It's too hard, man. There's too many mechanics. This is insane.
And 2 bosses, well, 3 bosses actually in this one. We have Sister Catherine and Brother Joseph. This is the Horde boss.
And
what we're going to do here is split the raid. Always been very interested in what Blizzard could do by splitting the raid up into different components and different teams. This isn't quite the kind of thing I'd like to see. I'd like to see the groups have to change and develop. It's what we did during things like Kael'thas and Tempest Keep, is we had group assignments for people dealing with different tasks throughout the fight. So you might have 3 players dealing with something at one point, and later we need a different few players dealing with different elements of the fight.
So this is
more
giant
static.
elemental.
This is just splitting the raid in half. So, you know, we have 20 players, so 10 aside. So you're going to move over to each boat, and each boat will deal with one of the bosses, and then at 50% HP, the bosses will swap.
We're going to have to plan this out.
Not a case of, I'm sure some of you immediately thought, okay, there's like a melee boss, and then there's a ranged boss, and that's how we deal with it. No, you're going to deal with both bosses. Doesn't matter.
It's going to be hard to do.
On. Now, I would say this one was the most disappointing of the 4. It was very undertuned, I thought.
You have to plan
despite the enormous bugs that were plaguing this fight, it was still not difficult to deal with. And that's the sign of a boss that needs a little bit more work, because the only ability of worth was from Brother Joseph. Brother Joseph has a siren song, a siren, which I thought was a really good idea. This mermaid siren style ability, where they will siren will attach itself to the boat, and then it will seduce somebody. It will magically seduce them and draw them towards it, and you're being pulled towards the siren. And should you reach that siren, she's just going to throw you off the fucking boat and kill you. It's as simple as that.
So it's just like real life.
Target, you can be life gripped back and things like that.
Oh, there she is.
The raid actually kills the siren and stops the song being sung. So once you deal with these bosses at 50% HP, they will swap. So, you know,
she's going to throw them right the fuck off.
And then when the bosses die, you will actually fight the last boss, the large liquid elemental. Now, if you're not sure what you're seeing, because it looks like everyone's doing crazy things, this entire platform, for some reason, has enormous line of sight issues on the test.
Was this Croesus?
As in, you had to stand on top of people to heal them, and you could only DPS the boss from these positions where you're seeing people at the side. You can see I'm tanking this one, because everybody was getting disconnected and locked out during the test phase.
This madness of death.
Now with the PTR.
Actually, it is.
You couldn't really do the fight, because if you moved more than a couple of yards, you couldn't DPS anything. Like, you can't stand 3 yards from the boss.
Well, that's why we're beta testing it, right?
You had to stand in a specific spot. And also, if you are stood in this specific spot, a healer has to be stood on that specific spot as well to be able to heal you. And should you have to go out, which is what the fight dictates you should do, you should be going out and dealing with these ads.
This boss seems interesting.
This room with toxin, then you wouldn't be able to be healed by anybody, and you couldn't DPS the ads either unless you were stood like directly on top of them. It was a very weird bug to be dealing with, but even with that, we still got the boss to like 60% with most of the raid disconnected. So
can't be that hard
by any means, but it's an interesting start. I'd like to see where they're going with it in Mythic. I hope they make the boat sections a little bit more interesting. That's all I would say there.
That sucks.
Well, let's move on to the Alliance-only bosses, where it really picks up here. And this was the Council, the Conclave of the Chosen. So for my Horde bros out there, you will recognize Akunda and Paku and Gonk and Kimball. These are our lower friends, and the Alliance are going to be up against our lower friends. And this was a really cool fight.
This area looks really cool.
This was like the variation of the Coven of Shavara, but done so much better. So much better. So as you can imagine, there are 4 of them. You'll deal with 2 at a time. They can't be tanked on top of each other. You'll have to kill 1 at a time. So once...
Real quick. So... the thing is, guys, that every boss is a ripoff of another boss. And people are like, oh, he's just ripping off Croesus. Man, every boss, like, dude, you just kill the boss and he dies, man. What a ripoff from Ragnaros. Oh, the boss has 2 phases. Oh, come on, they're ripping off Ragnaros again. Jeez, when is Blizzard ever going to come out with any new ideas? Oh, this boss is on fire? Ah, yeah, sure, just like Ragnaros. Wow, Blizzard, so original. Come on, guys.
One of them dies, the other one will be healed to full. So, sorry, boys, no mad cleave going on here. But each of the bosses brings with it its own dangers.
Okay.
And every time one boss dies, the other bosses are buffed. Now, you might say, what, can we kill them in different orders? No, and intentionally they have stopped you doing that. What you can do is they will always start, at least when we were doing it, they always started with Paku and Gonk. Is that you can leave one of them alive if you want to, because when one of them dies, the next person along the list will come down, but you can still leave one of them alive. But their abilities are obviously buffed every time one of the bosses dies, and that can make them a big deal. So you probably want to kill them in kind of a set order. Think of it more like Klaxi, where you had a little bit of variation, but generally speaking, there was a set order you wanted to do them in. And I think that's intentional as well, because they clearly want the end of the fight to be very, very difficult. The only way they can guarantee that happens, and you don't end up with like the easiest boss
bird boy
at the end, bloodlust and kill the hardest boss at the beginning, is by making them a set order. So there is some methods.
The bird boy.
Here. I know many people were probably looking forward to messing around with the orders and finding out the best one, but Blizzard's decided no, we know the order we want to go with. So what do each of these bring? Well, loads of stuff that causes problems when combined with the other ones, which is what you want to see. So individually, again, not that difficult, but we are looking at another overlap boss. So we've got things like Paku, who's going to spawn a giant pterodactyl who's going to AoE the whole raid, unless you stand within the circle of it. So you get underneath the boss. Which means you have to compact the whole raid together. But Gonk is going to spawn a bunch of raptors for you Alliance bros that are going to fixate people and chase them around and do serious damage should they get to them. And if they get close to each other, then they become empowered. They can't be CC'd. So as long as they're separated, you can knock them back.
I like this bird part.
You can do all kinds of things. But if you let them get close, they're going to go really fast. They're going to hurt you. It's going to be a real bummer. It's going to be a real bummer. So you can imagine when you've got the pterodactyl blasting the raid, that the raptors are then going to spawn, which then means you need to knock them away and keep them away and separate them out. And then you're going to have Kimball come into it, the tiger, and Kimball's going to pick people, and you're going to have to spread those people out away from people, because this tiger's going to jump around. It's going to do a massive shred.
There's so many mechanics.
People down.
Look at this. This is crazy.
At the same time, he's going to put a permanent Morose-style bleed on you that you're going to have for the remainder of the fight. Yeah, that's going to happen as well.
This is
insane.
And
then finally, Akunda's going to join the fight, and he's going to introduce Mind Wipe, which is going to make you forget all your abilities.
What the fuck?
It's a real bummer, actually. I actually found this ability to just be annoying more than anything. It needs to be dispelled. So you just have to wait for your healer to dispel you, and on that you kind of just derp around for a minute, which is a big fucking it's a bit boring. But simultaneously, they all have their own individual abilities as well. Those are like the mega abilities they do. But you're still going to have things like people being hexed, which is similar to Atal Dazar, where that person has to get out of the raid, and then if the hex runs out or is dispelled and there are people near you, it's going to AoE everybody and turn them all into frogs. You don't want that to happen, right?
Well, why not?
So you've got all those abilities overlapping and going along with each other, which creates a very intense end of the fight. We did kill it. Well, we didn't kill it because in testing you generally don't kill things because it causes problems, but we were able to kill it, and then found that there was lots of little timings and stuff which overlap and cause problems. So you have to be very careful with this fight. I'm sure it'll be fixed. It'll be easier with timers because obviously on the PTI we don't have timers. But again, a fight that builds to a really nice crescendo, and each part of it is interesting.
I want to just stop right there and say one thing, is that the fact that he thinks that the fight needs to be easier with the timers is more to what I was saying before, that there should be more mechanics in the game that are self-evident without there being an absolute bloat that we're seeing right now. This is exactly what I was saying, dude. You shouldn't need add-ons to be able to do bosses.
Lots to do, lots to keep you engaged. And then the most fun boss we did, in my opinion, the most fun boss was the Treasure Goblin. The Treasure Goblin.
What?
Oh, the Treasure Guardian, I should say, not a goblin. The Treasure Guardian. And this was Tomb Raider style stuff, and also a callback to Ho Dear in Ulduar. Yes, indeed. When we approached this fight, we saw this wonderful golden room full of shiny
The Twitch
gold.
Prime Elemental.
Excellent. Let's go inside there.
Oh, boy.
And then the boss spawned, which is the typical elemental model, but now it's made of treasure, with treasure dripping from the sky. I'd also noticed the boss had a ridiculous buff,
Twitch Prime
that one-shot tanks and wiped out everybody very quickly.
Okay.
Not right. But if you go into the more boring previous room, oh my, what do we have on the left and the right? We have two mini-bosses. Two mini-bosses. So once again, we're going to be splitting the raid. We're going to be splitting the raid this time, and each half of the raid is going to take one of the mini-bosses and move through a gauntlet escape room system. Yes, a gauntlet escape room system, which is pretty cool. So both the bosses are different. Each of them carry their own abilities. So like the boss on the right has a flamethrower and a stomp crush ability that needs to be avoided, and a flamethrower that spins in a circle like you'll have seen in King's Rest. And the guy on the left is spawning orbs which need to be positioned around each room. Now each escape room is a little
This is a mini boss
square room. And you're in there until you do 10% of the mini boss's HP. And they, for some reason, I think this was bugged, they had huge amounts of HP. Massive amounts of HP, which made the fight way more difficult, because each of the abilities the boss has, when compared with what's the challenge in each room, can get very difficult if you can't transition in relatively quickly.
I don't know, man.
So, for
this seems like a lot.
Room number one, little square room number one might have just the basic boss abilities. No big deal, right? But then when he hits 90% HP, he's going to move into the next room. Now, the next room is going to be all the abilities he had
previously. Low disk space. Can't play WoW for much longer. Uh-oh.
But now he's going to add flame wall lasers into it. They're going to shoot across the room, restricting the space you can go into. Then, once he gets another 10% HP, he's going to move to the next room. And the next room will no longer have the wall lasers, but it will have a laser that appears on the floor and chases you around and leaves fire on the floor. Then the next room is going to have a toxin, which is doing massive amounts of raid damage. So, and then it continues on till about 20% HP, where you'll actually be killing the boss in the last room. And in the last room, it's a much bigger room, but their primary abilities...
This is so wild, man.
...are massively buffed.
This is a mini-boss.
The flamethrower empowered
just a little one,
all completely off guard, and was really funny because it was huge and it just wiped you out should you not be in a very specific position. But at the same time, you can also pick up gems from here. Yeah, we're going to do some tomb raiding. You can pick up some jewels, and these you get to pick a jewel, and everybody gets to pick one up, and each jewel will give you some sort of buff, depending on what you want. So there's a buff that a player should get that causes the boss to take more damage. There's a tank buff that absorbs 50% of incoming damage. There's healer ones, which give like a massive buff to people. There's also ones that if you stand still, you'll gain more damage. You know, things along those lines.
That's cool, I guess.
Of what's going on here.
If you can use them in the rest of the fights, that'd be cool.
You get to pick up these buffs and start getting more damage. And what this does is basically, as you kill the mini bosses, you can then move into the main room, and where you'll tackle the Treasure Guardian itself.
Oh, they're on the table.
You'll now be way more powerful, way stronger, and also the boss won't have that buff.
Wait, yo, that's fucking badass.
So you come into this final sort of showdown with the Treasure Guardian.
No, that's
itself.
awesome,
man. What a lot of fun in doing this. What an absolute
It's actually really cool.
Fun. And as it was 10% HP, even with the huge HP pools, it was a lot of fun. It was always keeping you interested, always keep you engaged, always presented new challenges each and every room. I will say, as you can probably see from the footage, is that they were a little bugged.
Oh, this is a great idea.
What you could
do
is send the entire raid down one side. And considering the amount of HP these ads had, this was the best way of testing the boss to see what was supposed to happen, because once we split the raid, it was just, you know, you were just taking, it would have taken something like 12 minutes to do this fight. Like, it would have taken absolutely forever. And
what
also,
the fuck?
with some combinations in the rooms, certainly on the flamethrower side, which seems to be the more difficult side, is we were just losing people eventually because the rooms were full of stuff.
This boss.
But it definitely made it a lot more interesting and a lot more fun.
What
really
in the
enjoyed this
fuck,
fight. Can't
man?
wait to see the final product that comes out of this. And generally speaking, so far, this raid is looking to be pretty damn good. I hope
that's pretty fucking badass.
That's all I've got to say. But thank you so much for listening, guys. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.
Okay, so that was fucking cool, dude. Like, you have to agree with me there, right, McConnell?
I didn't really watch. I was reading YouTube comments.
Oh, come on. Why were you doing that, man?
Because I just, every time you turn on a video, I just, like, you go ahead and watch it. Like, I don't know. It's just, people care about you reacting and stuff. They don't care about my reaction. Look, I agree with
reactions, dude.
Whatever you say, I agree with you. Okay, dude?
Okay, dude. I can't believe it, man. Paladins should be deleted.
No, okay.
I'm glad McConnell agrees, dude.
I didn't agree to that. I'm not saying that.
Look, dude. So they have this treasure goblin boss. There's treasure, like, the boss, right? And you have to go through these different mini bosses to gain buffs to fight the boss. Like, don't you think that's kind of cool? Really? Really? You don't like it at all?
I couldn't care less, man. Like,
really?
I just don't. Yeah, I don't care. Like, I'm not. Look, when it comes out, here's what's gonna happen when it comes out.
Okay.
First day it comes out, we're gonna do normal with the stream pug.
Yep.
And then a week later, we might try heroic. Maybe a week after that, we might try heroic with the stream pug.
Yep.
And then that's it. Do we clear heroic, and then I'm good. I don't need to touch mythic. I don't care about the mechanics because
we have Titan Forging now, so you don't need to do the harder difficulties. You just get the better gear from easier.
I don't care. I'm sorry, stream. Like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't care.
Really?
Why is McConnell on stream every day though? Well, guess what? Core Bowl. What? Why am I?
What, you're asking? You're asking him or me?
I'm asking you.
Well, you're my boy, dude. What do you mean?
All right, Core Bowl. Suck a dick.
Yeah. What do you mean, dude? Yeah. Just a second. Asmongold, this raid looks fucking awesome. Yeah, I think it looks good. Yeah, it looks fine. I don't really think it matters though. Like, I know this might sound weird. Like, what McConnell's saying is kind of true. Like, does this really matter? If the raid looks cool, does that make a difference? I don't know. Maybe not. Just a second. Let me read through some more of these here. Blizzard used to make original bosses. Resort and Natural Medias are the best fights ever made. Now everything is just a copy of Patchwork. I'm pretty sure Resort, there's a lot of things that, like, you could see like, okay, number one, yes, I do think Resort and Natural Medias were amazing fights, but I don't think they were as original as you think they are. If you look at the mechanics, they're usually just a combination of other mechanics that are already in the game. Just a second. Raid mechanics don't change every week. Oh yeah, remember this? In Halphus Wormbreaker, I forgot about this entirely. There were mechanics from Halphus. I'm only going to do the ones that I need the toys from. I don't want to kill every mob. Every single week, there were different dragons that were active versus inactive. And it would change the fight every single week. Do you think that's cool?
You like that? I thought that was cool. Yeah, that's what. Yeah, it was cool.
I wish they did more things like that too. The only problem there is, like, then you have easy weeks versus hard weeks. It's like Mythic Plus, and, like, people don't like that. So I feel like it's really hard to, like, balance the two things. You know, like, maybe that's just me, but that's the way that I feel. Mogashan Vaults
first. Have that?
Did what?
Didn't Chromagus have that effect too?
I don't remember, like, how the buffs were supposed to work on Chromagus. I really don't remember at all.